funny because I even think of I remember when I was going through the Marian consecration the first time, and Louis de Montfort kind of talks about this idea that the soul who is consecrated to Mary gives the merits and the grace of all of their prayer, their virtue, their action. It all goes to Mary so that she can dispense it as she pleases. Right?
I remember digging into this with you 20 years ago.
I mean, it was just, and I'm like, what? Like, wait, you're telling me
it's not fair.
I remember being repulsed by it. I do.
Especially as a dad, I'm like, I want the efficacy of my rosary to be dedicated to my kid's salvation.
Listen,
I don't
God.
want to give it to Mary and let her do whatever she wants with it.
Because she'll hold out on me, of course.
Yeah, but when we pray, we pray a novena, right? Well, why do we pray a novena? Because in faith, we want God to come in power, right? But there can be this motivation that like, God, give me what I want. And I'm praying because I want you to give me what I want, right? Yes. And that there's this unconscious selfishness that's involved. And that's why the Marian consecration is so cool. It's like, okay, I'm going to do all of this, Mary, you take it and now do what you want with it. It's like abandoning my own, like the fruit of my own effort.
Yeah. I deal with this with young adults all the time. And, because as we're recruiting missionaries and things like that, we walk with so many young adults. And I think the most common thing in the young adult church today is a false understanding of means and end. That Jesus is the means almost always in the young adult church today. He's the means to all of the things I want in life. So Jesus is the means by which I achieve the end of a good spouse.
Yep.
He's the means by which I achieve the end of my satisfaction. He's the means by which I achieve the end of greater knowledge than those around me. He's the means by which I achieve the end of greater control over my life. He's the means by which I achieve the end of reconciliation in friendships that I want reconciliation in. He's the means, he's the means, he's the means. And I spend almost all of my time listening to respond at the end like, okay, what if we flip this, right? So what if the friendships in my life are actually the means by which I achieve the end of Jesus? What if my pursuit of vocation was actually me asking the question, Jesus, where can I love you the best? Like it's a total paradigm shift, but the anxiety that falls away when we see it from that angle is insane. Yeah. Because again, what happens is, Jesus, if you're the means and the end that I want isn't happening, I'm questioning my relationship with you. Am I in sin? Is it spiritual warfare? All these things that we talk about relentlessly, Again, there's a place for both of those. Like it's not a total insult to talking about that. But when we switch it, anxiety, freedom.
Well, and that is exactly the process of overcoming imperfect love, right? That when I treat Jesus as a means to an alternative end, then ultimately that is imperfect.
It's a different way of saying.
Yeah. So if I treat Jesus as the end, if I treat consolation as the end, and Jesus is the means to get the consolation I desire, even if it's peace, I have a lot of anxiety in my life, and I want peace as the end. Well, then Jesus is the end, right? And there may be things that Jesus brings into our life that don't cause peace initially, right? To get us to a place where we cling to him and we have nuptial spousal love with him. And I think it's almost the difference between eros and agape, right? This idea that in marital love, again, there can be eros, and eros is good and important and valuable.
Well, Benedict goes so far to say that Jesus does love us with an eros love. It just goes farther.
And we love Jesus with an eros love. Yep. And heaven has an eros love, right? They're like, I hope that there's a lot of consolation in heaven, right? Like the eros is this, like I'm in love and I feel the consolation of love. The passion behind love, all of that. And that gets me into this relationship, right? But then once you're in that relationship, there are those moments of agape, of total self-sacrifice where, and I think you guys can experience this. And I know some of my friends who have probably even experienced this more than I have in their marital love. But this idea of when things press in, right? And marriage or family situations and things are going really bad, there's something so beautiful about, like, in the end, you're like, it doesn't matter what is happening and all the sacrifice and the suffering that's going on. I'm here with you. And that's what's so beautiful, right? That the world almost disappears for these saints and these mystics, that they can be in this immense amount of physical, emotional, exterior, like there can be all of this like chaos outside of them. and yet interiorly they've got total rest because they're with the lover. And that's like this agape self-sacrificial love where I love you for you. I just want to be with you, right? So Catherine kind of or speaks of this imperfect love. It's like the soul is unconsciously seeking itself and its own good instead of the good of the lover, right? And I think that when I asked that first question, why do we follow Jesus, right? Am I accidentally, unconsciously seeking the good of me, or am I seeking the good of the lover? And so often when we don't move into mission, I would say it's because the soul is unconsciously seeking itself, and it's in this flight or fright mode, right? Right. I'm protecting myself from the bad harm that could come. I don't want to lose my job. I don't want to lose my friends. I don't want to get discouraged. I don't want to feel rejected. All of these things actually prevent me not only from pursuing God, but also from pursuing mission for God.
Do you guys think this is a place where, so I'm just trying to listen through like a different, I don't know if you listen through lenses, but I'm just trying to listen with different ears to what we're saying. And I wonder like, because I think a topic like this, you can hear it and go, wow, this is fascinating and probably true. But why exactly does it matter? You know, like why exactly, if I'm loving someone in this way versus this way, does it matter? I think the only reason that question can come in the church today is because there's been part of us that have made heaven boring. Like if the end of this, right? So we're saying that unitive is amazing, right? Like the mystics would say there's nothing you wouldn't do to get to the unitive stage. Like by the time they get to the unitive stage, they're like everything else. Like even Aquinas, right? It can be presumed that when he has the beatific vision, that unitive stage, and he goes, everything's straw, you know, like
that's usually what happens with the beatific vision.
Right. So there's something so profoundly good about that. But I do see, I don't think it's just concupiscence. There's this part of us that's like, that's awesome. And I'm glad some people are going to do that. I'm going to stick with good. And I think there's a part of that because like, I don't know if we talk enough about like the reward. Again, not that it's for the reward, because even that, but like the reward of this is insane. That seeing Jesus as he is, him being in your life as he desires to be, it couldn't get better. And it doesn't matter what circumstance you have. It doesn't matter how rich you are, how poor you are. It doesn't matter how sick you are, how healed you are. Like if he is in your life, it could not be better. And sometimes I notice this in youth ministry, and I'll throw it to you guys, but like in youth ministry, a lot of the kids are like, yeah, this makes sense. These retreats are fun. I don't know about following him and giving up all the other things because those are kind of fun too, because we don't know how good the end is because the end has no longer been Jesus. And and we don't speak about how good he is. I don't know. There's something, I wonder if people listening today, and if no one can, that's okay. It could just be a thought experiment for me. But I think you can hear it sometimes and go, is this worth the cost? Yeah. Like there's a lot I'd have to do here. What's the end? Well, the end is, Jesus, like, but perfectly Jesus in a way that,
I'm just you take it back. I love the marriage analogy is so beautiful too. When we have a lot of marriages happening here at Damascus right now, and when I advocate for marriage, when I get excited about marriage, when I counsel people and give direction, like I don't sit here and talk about, hey, would you like to hear about how Monica and I are struggling through this thing?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But the truth is, 15 years in, like. Those are the moments where true connection is found.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
And I see the fruit of that, and I can witness to the value of that. But the words that I have to use sometimes are like, just wait.
Yep.
Just wait, because it's awesome. It's more than I could even explain right now, because it's something you've got to experience.
Yeah. Yes.
Right. And so why does it matter? Because whether you're new to this thing, like whether you're stepping into Christian life for the first time, whether you're engaging in your first Bible study or coming to your first Empower conference, God has immeasurably more for you than you can imagine.
Yes.
And 10 years from now, he's going to still have immeasurably more.